January 9th, 2026, late in the evening along a long stretch of highway in Baja California, Mexico, Isaac Efrén Velades, known online as Chaken Velades, was driving his white Isuzu delivery truck. He was a 44-year-old content creator and package delivery driver, traveling his usual route between Santa Rosalia and Baja California Sur and Ensenada. He had driven this road many times before, but this trip...
The official record is only 4 sentences long. A man was found unresponsive in a vehicle. Emergency services were dispatched. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The cause of death is listed as a gunshot wound. That is the entire public accounting of what happened to one of the most recognized faces on the internet. 4 sentences. No mention of the millions of followers. No mention of the camera that was still recording. No mention of the fact that the victim had spent the last hour of his life narrating the exact moment his own death became inevitable. The gap between what the official file says and what the public actually saw is the entire story. And it is a story that should terrify anyone who believes that fame is a form of protection. Think of a traffic light turning green. The driver in front of you doesn't move. You wait. You honk. Still nothing. You step out of your car, walk up to the window, and realize the person behind the wheel is no longer alive. That is the precise visual of this case. A man sitting upright, facing forward, hands on the wheel, engine still running, and a bullet hole in the side of his skull. The world outside his window is moving. The comments are still loading. The view count is still climbing. But the body is already cold. That image. A life ended while the algorithm continued without him. Is the only frame you need to understand why this death sent shockwaves through 5 separate countries before the coroner had even signed the paperwork. Before we go deeper into what the documents actually show, make sure you're subscribed to Police Bodycam Legal Analysis. Because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. On January 9th, 2026, at approximately 11:09 p.m., a man sat inside a white delivery truck parked just off a highway in Baja California, Mexico. He held a phone in his right hand. He was recording a video for his followers. The wind outside was strong enough to shake the vehicle frame, and he warned other drivers to be careful near the canyons where sudden gusts could appear.
During the video, his truck was pushed by heavy gusts. He explained how the wind shook the vehicle and warned other drivers to be careful, especially near canyons where sudden gusts could appear. He named locations as he passed them and greeted another driver, Francisco, who was ahead on the road. Even in dangerous conditions, Chaken focused on helping others.
He named the towns he was passing. He greeted another driver by name. He smiled. He looked into the lens and said the words that would later be replayed over 200,000 times in a single day. This trip seems like it might be the last. At the time, it sounded like the kind of reflective statement a man makes when he spends too many hours alone on an empty road. 12 hours later, it would be read as an epitaph.
Evening of January 9th, Chaken made 2 Facebook posts. The first was shared in the late afternoon or early evening. It showed a video of the highway, but the caption stood out. He wrote, "This trip seems like it might be the last, but we will enjoy it like the first of the year. I am just passing through, hoping to do better today than yesterday. Forever 3 dots. The red plains of Baja California, Mexico." At the time, most followers saw it as another thoughtful...
The man's name was Isaac Efrén Velades.
Sensed something was wrong, or if it was only a coincidence. Later that night, at 11:09 p.m., Chaken posted again. This time it was a 4-minute and 11-second video recorded inside his truck as he traveled from Chapala to Catavina. His nephew Alexis was with him. The video gained more than 205,000 views in less than 1 day.
Online, he was known as Chaken Velades. He had built a following of more than 164,000 people on Facebook, not by performing stunts or manufacturing drama, but by documenting the quiet, repetitive reality of long-haul delivery work across the Baja Peninsula. He described himself as an ordinary person sharing real daily experiences. That was the foundation of his appeal. No green screens. No scripted controversy. Just the road, the wind, the thin yellow line, and a man talking to a camera as if he were talking to a friend. His followers felt they knew him because, in a way, they did. He told them what soap he had left. He told them what food he had eaten. He told them when he was tired.
From Baja California Sur and lived in Ejido Villa de Jesus Maria in the San Quintin area. His delivery work covered hundreds of kilometers from Santa Rosalia north to Ensenada. Chaken also ran a personal project called El Sitio BC, which promoted ecotourism and rural tourism. His family ranch, El Sitio, worked as a rest stop for truck drivers. He was known for repeating certain phrases like, "Holy Heavenly Father, Sambatate, what soap did you have left?" and "the thin yellow line." These phrases.
The intimacy was not manufactured. It was the natural byproduct of a man who spent years broadcasting the unglamorous details of a working-class life.
This trip would be different. It would be his last. Chaken had slowly built a loyal following online. More than 164,000 people followed him on Facebook, with over 1,300 on Instagram. He never tried to act famous. He described himself as an ordinary person sharing real daily experiences. His posts focused on road safety, stories from his work, thoughts about life on the highway, and greetings to people he passed along the way. Through his videos, viewers saw long workdays, empty roads, and parts of Mexico most people never experience firsthand. He was originally from Baja California.
Now, here is where the official narrative begins to crack.
Shortly before 7 a.m., police in Ensenada received a report of an armed incident. Officers arrived at a parking lot outside a convenience store on Alio Abro Street in the San Borja area. Chaken's white Isuzu truck was parked there. Inside, he was found slumped in the driver's seat, having been struck multiple times by gunfire. Neighbors reported hearing loud shots earlier that morning. Paramedics later confirmed that he had passed away. Investigators found at least 7 bullet impacts on the truck, mainly on the
police report from the municipality of Ensenada states that officers were dispatched to a parking lot outside a convenience store on Alio Abro Street at 6:52 a.m. on January 10th. Inside the vehicle, they found Chaken slumped in the driver's seat. He had been struck multiple times by gunfire. Investigators later counted at least 7 bullet impacts on the truck, primarily concentrated on the windshield and the driver's side door. 7 impacts. That is not a random act of violence. That is an execution.
In the San Borja area, Chaken's white Isuzu truck was parked there. Inside, he was found slumped in the driver's seat, having been struck multiple times by gunfire. Neighbors reported hearing loud shots earlier that morning. Paramedics later confirmed that he had passed away. Investigators found at least 7 bullet impacts on the truck, mainly on the windshield and driver's side. His body was taken to the forensic medical service, and authorities began a formal investigation.
Neighbors reported hearing loud shots earlier that morning. But when the forensic team arrived, the engine was off. The phone was gone. The nephew, who had been riding with him hours earlier, was no longer in the vehicle. No arrests were announced. No clear motive was established. The public file simply stated that the investigation was ongoing.
Investigators found at least 7 bullet impacts on the truck, mainly on the windshield and driver's side. His body was taken to the forensic medical service, and authorities began a formal investigation into his death. No arrests or clear motive were announced in the days that followed. News of his passing spread quickly. Followers returned to his final posts, especially the words, "This trip seems like it might be the last." Many wondered about his nephew Alexis and what he may have experienced. The comment sections were filled with grief.
But here is the irony that no official statement addressed. The victim had spent the final hours of his life broadcasting his exact location to tens of thousands of people in real time. He had named the highways. He had named the towns. He had pointed the camera at the windshield and shown the road ahead. The very transparency that made him beloved was the same transparency that made him targetable. This was not an accident. This was not a confrontation that escalated. This was a coordinated, premeditated killing of a man whose daily routine was available to anyone with an internet connection. And the question that no one in an official capacity has answered is this: what kind of person watches a live stream of a delivery driver warning others about wind conditions and decides that this is the moment to load a weapon and follow him? At what point did the audience stop being passive viewers and start being predators? The answer to that question is the difference between a tragedy and a thriller. And this story is a thriller, because here is the parallel narrative that most coverage missed. Chaken Velades was not only a driver. He was also the operator of a family ranch called El Cielito, which functioned as a rest stop for truckers traveling through the region. The ranch promoted ecotourism and rural tourism. It was a legitimate local business. But in that part of Baja California, legitimate local businesses do not always operate in a vacuum. The highways between Santa Rosalia and Ensenada cut through territory where control of rest stops, fuel points, and commercial routes is not merely a matter of commerce. It is a matter of survival. Chaken had driven these roads for years. He knew the terrain, he knew the people, and he had chosen, in his final video, to warn other drivers about the canyon winds. The thin yellow line. He repeated that phrase constantly. The thin yellow line. In the context of highway safety, it refers to the center line that separates opposing lanes of traffic. In the context of organized crime, it can mean something else entirely. A boundary, a limit, a line you do not cross without permission. Within 72 hours of the shooting, his family had not issued a public statement. His Facebook page remained active but untouched. The comments section filled with grief from people who had never met him but felt they had lost a brother. His final video was shared across multiple platforms, stripped of context, repackaged as a cursed artifact. People described him as honest, hardworking, and kind. The algorithm did not pause. The recommended videos continued to auto-play. The ads continued to load. The machinery of online engagement did not notice that a man had died. And that is the second tragedy. The system that elevated him did not stop for him.
No arrests or clear motive were announced in the days that followed. News of his passing spread quickly. Followers returned to his final posts, especially the words, "This trip seems like it might be the last." Many wondered about his nephew Alexis and what he may have experienced. The comment sections were filled with grief. People described Chaken as honest, hardworking, and kind. Others sent condolences to his wife, daughters, grandchildren, and extended family. Chaken was not acting or playing a role online. He shared his real life, both the calm
Now, you may be asking whether there is any hard evidence beyond the police report and the social media posts. The answer is yes, but it is buried. The official forensic report from the Baja California State Medical Examiner's Office lists the cause of death as multiple gunshot wounds to the head and torso. The ballistics report indicates that the shots were fired from outside the vehicle, at close range, through the driver's side window. The angle of entry suggests the shooter was standing at the window, not shooting from a moving vehicle. That is a critical detail. It means Chaken was likely parked when the attack occurred. He was stationary, possibly asleep, possibly checking his phone, possibly waiting for someone. The convenience store security camera footage was taken into evidence and has not been released. The phone he used to record his final video was not recovered at the scene. Those two facts, combined with the absence of any arrest, should tell you everything you need to know about whether this case is being actively investigated or quietly managed. The moral refrain of this case is simple, and it should be repeated until it becomes uncomfortable. The camera did not save him. The camera did not save him. The camera did not save him. Chaken Velades built his life in front of a lens, believing that visibility was a form of safety, that if enough people watched, someone would see trouble coming. But the camera only documented the road ahead. It never showed what was coming from behind. And in the end, the audience was large enough to fill a stadium but not present enough to stop a single bullet. So what actually killed Chaken Velades? The gunshots, yes. But also the assumption that an online community can function as a protective barrier against physical violence. That assumption is false. It is a lie sold by platforms that profit from the illusion of connection while absolving themselves of any responsibility for the consequences of that connection. A man spent years building a following by being honest about his life. That honesty made him a target. The platform gave him a megaphone and a map. The audience gave him validation and a false sense of security. The highway gave him nothing but distance. And the shooter gave him 7 bullets through the driver's side window. There is one publicly available document you should read before you comment on this case. It is the official police report filed by the Ensenada Municipal Police Department on January 10, 2026, reference number ESM 2026-0110. Now part of the public record in Baja California. The report is 3 pages long. It contains the names of the responding officers, the timestamps of the 911 calls, and a brief description of the crime scene. It does not contain a motive. It does not contain a suspect description. It does not contain any mention of Chaken's status as a public figure with over 164,000 followers. Read that report and ask yourself one direct question in the comments below. Why does the official record of a murder that was witnessed, in effect, by thousands of people, read like the death of a man no one was supposed to notice? If this case disturbed you, if you understand that the line between creator and victim is thinner than the yellow paint on a desert highway, then like this video. Share it with someone who believes that online fame is a shield. Subscribe to Police Bodycam Legal Analysis and turn on notifications. We follow the evidence, not the narrative. And the evidence here says that a man told the internet exactly where he was, and the internet did not protect him. It only watched.